Hello guys and welcome to the ESL Meisterschaft. We are the English casters who are going to be casting over this clean feed, which means I'm going to turn down the volume of the clean feed ever so slightly because at the moment they have a German announcer going on, so we'll just get rid of that. Turn that down ever so slightly. My name is Sona, I'm joined by Scoundrel, and we are here to lead you through the final day of the ESL Meisterschaft for this Winter Cup. Scoundrel, we saw the CSGO and FIFA yesterday, of course. Today is all about League of Legends. Iguana Esports, Euronics, Mysterious Monkeys, and Eyes on You facing up against each other.
First of all, Sona, you could have sounded more excited.
I was, but the problem was, right, I didn't, because it's a clean feed, right? I didn't expect to have the German announcer in my ear. So when he came on, I was like, oh no, I have to sort this out. I'm very excited for this, and you can hear it in my voice now. But originally, because I'm doing all the production for the English broadcast of this, I had to sort that out before I could get my hype on, as you would say.
I was only taking the nick, buddy, don't worry. So yeah, I'm Scoundrel. I'm going to be joined by Sona here. We're going to be running through the English broadcast of the ESL Meisterschaft. There's loads of cool teams in here. A lot of them you'll recognise. These are kind of the four big teams we expected to see in the finals. And I thought we could just do a quick rundown of what happened over the course of the 2 months. As you see, Euronics Gaming coming on stage with horse heads, Sona. Really showmanship from these guys. I mean, they like to be a bit of jokers, and they're going to come onto stage with all horse heads, right?
I'm just amazed none of them have fallen over yet, in all honesty. And I know visibility from those horse heads is pretty poor. I would not be surprised if one of them...
what they're saying is...
one of the members is giving them all a slap on the bottom as they go through as well. This is great. Euronics really showing up for these games.
They're handicapping themselves because they just feel like they are just that much better than their opponents. And given their track record in the Meisterschaft Cups, that probably wouldn't be too far-fetched to say. They are probably the favourites coming in. Now, let's talk about these sort of the cups they won. On the 5th of October, they won the first ESL Meisterschaft Cup. In the 19th of October, they won the third. They won the fourth on the 26th. So they won 3 out of the 5 cups. They also came into the semi-finals in the second cup. And in the 5th cup, they actually didn't do as well. I think they got knocked out in the second round. But other than that, they've had the most dominant performance out of most of our teams here. In the group stages, and they were in Group B, they actually got knocked down into the losers bracket by Mysterious Monkeys in the semi-finals. They then beat Team Lioncast and come through as second seed from Group B, which means they faced first seed from Group A, which is Iguana Esports. Now, you know, most of us would say that the Euronics probably are the favourites here, but Iguana, Sona, they are this new team that they came into the Meisterschaft.
I'm going to interrupt you because Euronics are being escorted off the stage at the moment by some of the ESL production guys. Maybe they weren't meant to sit down. They're hanging onto his desk as well. Yes, so no horsing around obviously by Euronics early on. They're looking to be a super...
I wish I had any idea what the hell. I mean, this looks like it's some sort of show.
It feels slightly scripted, in all honesty, but nothing obviously relating to League of Legends would ever be scripted. That's some pretty muscular showmanship by the ESL referees. Obviously, been going to the gym a little bit.
I wish I had any idea what's going on.
Well, that was an enjoyable little watch for us. The next team up, as you said, is Iguana Esports. Perhaps Euronics wearing the horsehead mask just to try and be animalistic like their opponents. I believe Iguana Esports will be coming out in just a second for us. Talk to me a little bit about Iguana, because they, at the start of the Meisterschaft, they weren't really the dominant force they have started to become later on.
Yeah, well, we're going to see them come onto stage now. Iguana Esports, they started off as a new team coming into the ESL Meisterschaft, as far as I was aware. Yep. They didn't have... I don't even know if they were entered in the first cup. No, they were, but they got beat by Eyes on You. So they were seeded against Eyes on You because they were pretty low seed at that beginning point. And Eyes on You, as we know, another team in the finals are very, very good.
It's Euronics again.
Oh, okay. Euronics again? Right, well, this is the actual intro for Euronics Gaming.
Euronics come out once again.
No
Super Serial this time, guys. Super Serial.
Wait, oh, that wasn't the real Euronics Gaming.
Oh, of course it wasn't. was that Iguana come out in the Euronics Esports tops? I don't know who it was, but yeah, it wasn't the real Euronics, as you say.
PSG. Oh, okay. And here we go. Here's Iguana. So that was a stage invasion of what I'm guessing it was like a joke Euronics that came on. It was supposed to be a bit of showmanship there. And this is Iguana Esports coming on now. So you've got the two teams on the stage. Because I don't know the players personally, because obviously we're doing English.
I know a few of them by name, but I've never met them before.
No, so now you have the real teams on stage. I was thinking, what was that? They must have put the horse heads on to cover up their identities. That was quite funny. And there you've got the German broadcasters. They're taking over Maxim and Decaldent.
Karl Decaldent Kray is his name. Yeah, these are... Oh, so apparently that was a group of German YouTubers who came on. Thank you very much, Promatics, for informing us through the medium of Twitch chat.
Nice script, ESL. Good job. I was going to talk about Iguana then. So Iguana actually then came into the second...
Oh, that was Spando Inferno! Can you remember the team who a while ago released a YouTube video saying, we're starting, we're going to Korea to scrim and we're going to be the next big EU LCS team? It was all like a joke. Yeah. Oh, good old Spando Inferno.
I do remember those. Okay, that was quite funny actually. That was tell you what, that wouldn't happen in English broadcast. We're apparently far too proper for that. But that was
way too serious.
A very funny little intro. I credit you, ESL Germany. So Iguana, they actually won the second cup Sona. They, I think, didn't do too particularly well in the third cup, but then the fourth cup they got to the semi-finals and then into the finals, and in the fifth cup they actually got knocked out in the semi-finals. So actually, as it goes, they were probably one of the closest contenders to Euronics throughout the cup stages, and they actually topped their group stages. They beat Eyes on You in the final. Eyes on You then got second seed, and Iguana came through as the first seed from Group A. So actually, as it goes, Iguana in pure standing points are probably the closest contenders here. So we've got a really heavyweight matchup in this first round of the ESL Meisterschaft finals.
Yeah, because Euronics got knocked down to the lower bracket in their seeding group, it means that they are sort of... They play above the level of their seed. So because they came in as the second seed, they got matched up against the first seed from the other group. But everyone expected Euronics to be that first seed. It's a little bit like, SKT being the third seed, the second seed from Korea. They're one of the best teams in the world, but just came because they weren't able to win the split. They came out as that second seed. Now, this is Marcus Morkel, who is a man, and he's wearing clothes, so I don't know a huge amount about who Marcus is. Do you have any idea?
I think he said he's Duisburg something Köln, so maybe he's got something to do with the Cologne Sports Society or Cologne Sports type thing.
Okay, could be something to do with them. I'm trying to look him up. Here we are, Marcus Morkel. It comes up as a tumour pathology specialist, so I'm going to say that's not him.
I think it was something along the lines of sort of the sports group or the sports board in Cologne.
Excellent. Maybe he's the German Esports Federation head.
He's the token crossover between traditional sports and esports, maybe.
Token crossover. Well, that's an interesting way to look at it. Obviously, he's making some fascinating points right now as we wait for the games to start. Iguana Esports, yes. So we talked a little bit about how they started off as a new team, as you said. They've developed pretty well over the last couple of splits. Of course, we are playing on the new patch today. I believe it's 6.23. It might be 6.22. Either way, we are in the pre-season patches as far as I know. How do you think that impacts both these teams? Because Euronics have been consistently good on the previous season, but we haven't seen them perform too well on the new season patches.
Yeah, so Euronics have been slow to adapt, I would say, compared to what they were previously, but I imagine they'd have put a lot of work in for the finals. They'll come through. I believe we're on 6.23. I think that's what, because most of the ESL Meisterschaft was played on live, there would be no reason not to play on current live patch for the finals. So
I think you could make the argument. I think 6.23 hit this week, didn't it? At the start of this week.
So maybe we're on 6.22. That would probably make sense, because I don't believe we've had anything this week. The last cup that we had was the group stage on the 9th of November.
Yeah. So it's a couple of weeks ago.
Let's imagine this is probably going to be on 6.22 if the tournament build is 6.22 right now. So that means there probably isn't any Shyvana changes. So we're not going to see that ridiculous Shyvana in the jungle, although I don't know how competitive she's going to be. She's obviously very, very good at sort of exploiting high levels of farm and being able to just, kind of farm your way to victory. But if we're on 6.22, I don't expect to see any of that kind of shenanigans.
So this is Iguana Esports. Ketz in the top lane, Frennick as the jungler, Janax as their mid laner, Hiku as their AD carry, and Arfan is their support role. I know as well their coach is a well-known guy in the UK scene as well, Rob JWA. I can't remember his actual in-game name. But yes, he's a very strong coach and does a lot of work for them as well.
I believe he was definitely with them at the start of the split. I can't.
Is he not still with them? He might have left them.
He got a new job, so I can't work out whether he's still under Iguana Esports. It doesn't say on his Twitter bio that he is anymore. So
okay, well, I may be wrong. I know he helped them out a lot during the start when they were just starting up.
Yeah, he did indeed, and he's a wonderful guy. He's like a UK scene treasure. So I'm glad that he's had an impact in this ESL Meisterschaft, and there's obviously with Arfam, who has had some sort of ties to the UK scene. That is Arfan on your screens right now. He's played for Infused, I believe back in the day.
The good old days when Infused were actually a team.
Yeah, when Infused continued their League of Legends stuff in the UK scene, he was the support for Infused. So Arfan has got some ties to this. We have cast him before, and he is obviously a very fantastic support.
But he is. Let's have a look across Euronics, perhaps slightly better known by the Germans in the audience. Phones, Obvious, Magifelix, Cedrian and Cuckoo, a very powerful lineup. They're just well known throughout the entire scene for having strong team coordination and strong individual talents as well.
So Magifelix is one of those players with strong individual talent. He's sort of well known across the Challenger leaderboards. He's obviously seen him play throughout the ESL Meisterschaft Cups. He's always been incredibly impactful. So keep your eyes on Magifelix. He's the guy to watch on Euronics.
That he is. Do you think we're going to have that focus in the mid lane? Lots of people with the assassin changes have been trying a little bit of different, a few different picks in that mid lane. We see a couple of assassins coming out. LeBlanc especially very powerful. If this is 622, which we assume it is she just a must ban for whichever team's on red side?
No, I don't think so, not necessarily. I do think LeBlanc is incredibly strong. She's really the only assassin that has had a successful update, I would say. Top-level Katarina players have been sort of saying, I think that Katarina could be particularly impactful, but again, she's super, I think in a competitive setting, hard to play. She's probably very weak to things like Syndra and Victor, which still reigns supreme in that mid lane. And even with all the assassin changes, when it comes to a competitive setting, generally we have just seen sort of those control mages stay relevant. So those control mages have really been the picks that have remained on top. And picks and bans coming through now, Sona.
Yeah, that we are into picks and bans for the first game of the day. Euronics on the blue side, Iguana on the red, and Zyra, Ivan, Gangplank, and Rise being taken away. Gangplank is an interesting ban away here by Euronics.
Yeah, that does strike me as slightly odd. They must have sort of put that towards the top lane of Iguana. In fact, the Ivan ban is, although it may seem odd to some of you, Ivan has been sort of basically rearing his flowery head in that jungle. You go wind speakers, you max E, you do a lot of damage, you become a massive utility support base from the jungle, which can really support any form of hyper carry, from the mid lane or from the bot lane. So it doesn't surprise me that we see an Ivan ban coming through, and Twitch and Katarina. So Katarina actually getting banned away here by Iguana.
Definitely makes us think we're at least on 622, if not on 623. Syndra is the instant lock from Euronics, and Iguana hovering the Ashe Rek'Sai. There are a lot of strong junglers on this patch. Of course, ones that can use the plants effectively are the most powerful, and Rek'Sai falls into that role perfectly, and then Elise straight away by Euronics, so they knew that they wanted that jungler pickup.
So the Syndra pickup made absolute sense. She really is just still the dominant mid laner at this point in time, even with all the assassin changes, especially with some of those melee assassins coming through. She can punish them very quickly. Looks like we have a lock-in here of Jhin, and now we're going to go through on this next rotation. I mean, these are coming through pretty quickly right now, but with Ashe and Rek'Sai locked in at this point in time, you don't need to lock in your mid laner. I mean, you could do, but I guess at this point you're saying, well, I want to try and counter top, so I probably take my mid lane away. And then I also pick up my support off the back of this. And if I was really on the side of Iguana with this composition, the kind of hard engaged pick composition, Karma would definitely be on the cards for me, Sona.
Yeah, I think Karma is still a very strong support, even with the new items coming in. Redemption actually works incredibly well with her. It is going to be a Jhin lock as well for Euronics, so they've solidified their AD carry. As you say, lots of long range, lots of strong engage from them with the Scatter the Weak, with the Cocoon coming out as well. And Iguana have locked in the Corki alongside that Karma pick. So looks like it's going to be a mid lane Corki here at Scoundrel.
That's really interesting. The Corki has been seeing some play again from that mid lane position. A lot of it has been cropping up in solo queue here and there. Just with your ability to consistently apply pressure to things like Syndra, and you've got high mobility with your Valkyrie to get yourself out of sticky situations if you absolutely need to. So we definitely have been seeing some Corki back on the rise. Just depends on how he's going to go toe-to-toe with Magi Felix. Now on this rotation here, let's look at the composition that they're trying to pull out. They need something that can follow up on that Jhin ultimate. I really don't mind the Poppy here. Alistair's been locked in. There we go. There's the Poppy. I mean, this is what I was completely expecting from this rotation. Just something to be that front line to follow up on the Jhin Sona.
Not surprised at all by that Poppy in the top lane, and we're just looking to see what Iguana decide to pick here as their top laner. Maokai's still really strong, of course, with the Courage of the Colossus. The Alistair pick here for Euronics is really powerful with that Courage. You're seeing some people take the jungle Alistair, and a lot of people actually sticking with that support Alistair instead. Just still really strong, gets the stun off as well. Can do a huge amount of work in that bottom lane. But hover for the top laner here for Iguana is Lee Sin. Would be surprised to see that taken top.
Absolutely not. I think what we're expecting to see here is probably going to be something along the lines of what you said. I'm expecting a Nautilus or a Maokai, or if you really want to and go toe-to-toe with a Poppy, maybe Gnar. Kennen could potentially be an option, but I think you need a frontline tank that's going to follow up on that Ashe ultimate. You do have the Rek'Sai. Yeah, I mean, this makes perfect sense to me, Sona, and I think you were right in the first time you said Maokai. It makes perfect sense. Ashe ultimate comes down, then you use the Maokai, it just runs through.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense, as you said, Excalibur. Now, guys, just remember, we are using a clean feed for the English broadcast, so I don't really have a huge amount of control over anything but sound, and we are not the casters in the picture as much as I would like to be. That guy on the left of your screen has absolutely perfect hair.
He does have great hair.
He does.
I do have to give credit to him. He has got some fun. I mean, he's got like real early era Joe Miller hair going on.
Yes, it actually looks quite a bit like Joe Miller as well.
Yeah, back in the day.
Anyway, we are ready to get into the first game. It looks like Euronics Gaming have the fan vote, 72% to only 28% coming out from Iguana. So quite a big difference between those two teams, and perhaps just the fans showing the sort of legacy that Euronics have left, because Iguana have, in my opinion, at points recently looked like the stronger of the two teams.
Yeah, if I'm completely honest, Iguana recently, like you said, have looked fantastic. I think they've been getting slowly better and better, gelling as a unit. Remember, they only came together as a team at the start of this broadcast. So, like, sorry, it's not the start of the broadcast.
not this exact broadcast.
Together like 20 minutes ago, guys. No, at the start of the Cups. And so they've sort of had that time to gel over the Meisterschaft Cups. Where Euronic Gaming, they've been through multiple seasons. And there's been some changes, but these guys have been a steadfast presence for the ESL Meisterschaft. They're going to have the fans built up behind them already. They are a sort of a favourite in the German scene. But Iguana, like you said, have looked continuously strong. So we're about to get into the first game of the finals here, and they're already on to the Rift.
They are on to the Rift. Iguana Esports on the red side against Euronics Gaming on the blue. Went right on into the action in the first game of the day. And Corki has gone for the Corrupting Potion as his pick in the mid lane. Cedric and Cuckoo trying to set up something perhaps in this bottom lane, but not really going to be able to do much, as Karma can always spot them out. Let's talk a bit about the top lane. Poppy and Maokai. This is sort of reminiscent to a top lane we saw quite a while ago. So on your screens, this is a little bit odd, but I believe this is the base resting heart rate and then the actual heart rate of the players at the moment.
Wow.
I looked at this yesterday. They had it for the CSGO yesterday. The other option is it could be blood pressure, but it looks a little bit high on some people's sides to be blood pressure.
Also, like on the ESG side, you've got the diastolic and the systolic blood pressure the wrong way around. So.
Well, yeah, but that's not really the end of the world, is it? But so I think it's base resting, because that one number is staying stable, and then the higher number is what their heart rate is right at the moment. So you can see people like Magi Felix really on edge slightly with a heart rate of 145. That's about 150% of what I would count a normal heart rate. Or
I love that we could be medical, because we're both originally doctors. So we have this thing we can talk about in terms of medicine. So what I imagine it is, Sona, is their resting pulse rate, or with the pulse sign, and then they have their current heart rate. So they probably had their resting pulse rate monitored, which, yeah. I mean, let's say, I mean, if you look at that, the resting pulse rate of the mid laner for IGE, that's 100.
Yeah, Genax, that's pretty darn high.
And then it's 120 for our fans. So these guys obviously were nervous when they were having their resting pulse rate done as well.
Well, it is actually a commonly seen condition called white coat syndrome, which is when you have medical tests done, you tend to get anxious and nervous, so you could have a higher rate because of that. I'm trying to work out exactly what's going on with the sound. I'm gonna let Excoundrel talk for a second while I sort it out, because I can hear some sort of like demonic voices in the background alongside the game sound.
I just love demonic voices on my broadcast. So anyway, this is obviously the first of the semi-finals here at the final of the Meisterschaft. It looks like these Ashe and Karma obviously able to push in the Jhin and Alistair early on. Jhin and Alistair really would not be able to respond to the pushing power of this particular lane. You can see Karma just trying to apply as much pressure to that minion wave, especially those casting minions in the backline as possible. This top lane, though, this is something that Sona wanted me to chat about a little bit earlier. It's very much a farm lane. I mean, realistically, Poppy probably has a little bit of kill pressure, but for the most part, you know, without jungle pressure, I expect neither of these guys to die in a one-on-one scenario. It will come down to sort of Poppy probably having a slightly higher split push pressure as the game progresses, but neither of these picks were meant to be split pushing. They're supposed to have an impact in a team fight situation. Maokai to follow up on the Ashe arrow pick. I mean, this is a composition that completely revolves around Ashe and her arrow, and then obviously Karma to speed everyone up. They've got a fair amount of burst coming through with the Corki as well, and then obviously Kets can follow up on that Ashe arrow. And you look at ESG, they've got the good siege coming out with the Jhin and Syndra, you know, and every time you use that ultimate coming out from Jhin, the curtain call, you've got the good follow-up in terms of getting cocoons down, phones on that Poppy. You'll be able to get right into that front and back line of Iguana Esports, and then you've got the follow-up from Alistair as well. So, you know, these compositions have ways that they're designed to work. And Sona, are you back and alive?
I'm back and alive. We seem to have just some sort of echoing going on with the clean feed itself. Like, people asking, I just saw someone asking in chat, are we watching a live stream of a live stream? I guess technically we are. So we are the English casters for the Meisterschaft finals. They have the German casters on site, and then they send us a clean feed that we stream. So all the camera work and all of that stuff is done on site, and we're just here to cast the action that we see. Did see a little bit of a gank there in the mid lane, not going to catch out Genax. Saw his heartbeat just skyrocket slightly there, 127 now.
It's so cool that we see this, because like you'll probably see them calm down as the games progress. You know, the heart rates will slowly go down towards resting, but you are on stage, you're always going to have that nervous. And you know, casters always talk about, you know, oh, they're going to be nervous, this is a big event for them on stage, but you never really get to see that in real time. Well, we're actually seeing how players are affected on a real-time situation when it comes to stage situations and playing at LAN. And this is like the first indication I think you've had from tournament structures where you can actually see that happening, where players are genuinely looking that little bit nervous.
You can see how nervous Frennick is. His got up to 174 at one point. That's almost, well, it's basically double what I would count as a normal resting heartbeat for, you know, a young adult male. That's incredibly high. Let's get back into the action, though. Stop going on our medical talk, Excoundrel. Obvious, looking for early ganks here on the Elise, has decided to opt for mobility boots first, alongside a control ward as well.
Yes, so going for those mobility boots first, basically looking to impact lanes as frequently as possible, especially, you know, getting towards level 6 in that bot lane. You're going to have huge kill pressure there with the Ashe arrow, so making sure you have those early on, given that he probably doesn't feel the time it takes for this bot lane to get 2 levels that he'll be able to get anything more impactful than having the ability to roam across the map. So like you said, with the Elise, just looking to get across as much as possible in terms of map presence, whereas Rek'Sai opting for the Tracker's Knife early on. Obviously, Elise has responded with her own control ward, which will give her some area or control of an area that she so chooses. But Rek'Sai really looking to get deep vision in the enemy jungle using that Tracker's Knife. And like you said, he's one of the best, or she's one of the best champions that can use these plants to escape when necessary. You tunnel in, you get some wards down, and then you use the plant if in absolute dire situation you have to get out as well.
It does also give you quite a strong gank path as well, because you can blast cone over towards the dragon pit, save your burrow, save your tunnel, and then be able to get in for the gank. So you actually speed up your gank ability, because you're not waiting for a second tunnel to come back up. Does look like Fennec was looking towards the bottom side for the first gank, but not really going to be able to spot anything here as Euronics are pushed up towards their turret. Kind of expected when you're playing an Ashe Karma lane that you are just going to push the wave up, and that's actually exactly what they're going to try and do here as well. Cuckoo pushing forward. He knows that Iguana just want to try and push that lane in. And now we expect to see them going back to base and starting to get these items under their belts.
Everybody really applying vision around this bot side of the map. You can see deep vision there on the bot side. I think Rek'Sai's responded very well to this Ashe Karma lane in conjunction. Trying to follow up on the Ashe Karma lane in conjunction. So I like the fact that he's mainly keeping a toke on Elise, because Elise is probably going to be the only thing that really turns around that potential kill pressure in the bot lane. You know, if Ashe engages, then Elise can turn it around quite nicely when Ashe is trying to follow up with her cocoon. By keeping tabs on her in that red side jungle, you're limiting the areas to which she can head towards that bot lane. So also, if you're trying to start a fight, Rek'Sai has now given the safety net to both Hyaku and Arfan, that if they choose to use an arrow, they can probably be pretty happy that Elise isn't going to be there as long as they've got that vision in the red side jungle. So it's just giving a little bit of a safety net to both Ashe and Karma for when they maybe choose to engage, or even just, you know, pushing that lane up, that as they will do against the Jhin and the Alistar. It does mean that they can do it in sort of element of safety while, you know, warding that river themselves. They should feel pretty comfortable pushing the lane up.
That they should. I want to focus as well on the mid lane. Corki, not a pick we see too commonly. Gone for the Hex Drinker first. Saw him going a little bit aggressive on towards Magifelix on that Syndra as well. Magifelix has just backed away and got himself Sorcerer's Shoes and that Forbidden Idol. So now we'll have a little bit more damage and a bit of extra mana. But how do you feel the Corki matches into Syndra later on? Is it just about staying back and farming with your Phosphorus Bomb and with those rockets?
Corki's going to like a traditional AD carry in that sense, that as soon as Syndra gets to a certain point, she should be able to just one-bomb anyone that she so chooses. You know, for the most part, this is just Corki able to farm from a fair relative distance, especially post-6, to a point where he's probably not going to be exploited 1v1 in lane. Where Corki comes into his own effect is he has high mobility, he can roam quite easily with that package, obviously. They're trying to play around the Ashe area. When you pick Ashe, you generally pick a composition that can play around it, and with the Maokai coming through, the Corki there as well, this is a lot going to revolve around whether Hyaku can hit those Ashe arrows and start fights up.
It's all about those arrows and trying to catch Cedrian out with them as well. It's a Mountain Drake to start us off, so both teams will want to get that. It's not something, you know, one of the lesser valued Drakes like the Cloud or perhaps even the Ocean. You need that Mountain Drake to be able to push turrets. Both these teams have relatively good siege. You know, Syndra Jhin is okay for sieging. Ashe and Corki very strong in that siege composition as well, especially with the ability to engage with the Rek'Sai, Maokai and Karma underneath the turret.
So I'm going to give like sort of a big round of applause to the first player that achieves under 100 heart rate.
What, just resting under 100?
Yeah, no, current under.
Okay, current under 100. Okay. Yeah, I think sometimes people don't always understand how stressful these games can be. And you talk about teams, you know, when people get into the final game of a best of 5 and we say, you know, there's a mental fatigue, there's an actual physical fatigue as well. This is what plays into it. Perhaps you're not, you know, physically exerting yourself too much, but you are using a lot of mental energy. Arfan jumped on here, is obvious as well. Arfan tries to flash away, the Kurnicle comes down, and Arfan is dead. They're going to try and get Hyaku underneath the turret. Kaku trying to tank it up, they will snipe him away. And Euronics get a double to start off the action.
Yeah, apologies if my microphone's sounding pretty poor. I think I'm going to force Sona to move over to Discord after this because it's peaking out and sounding.
It's probably TeamSpeak. Okay, we'll finish this game and then we'll move over to Discord. Do you want to lower your volume and I'll turn you up in TeamSpeak slightly as well?
Obviously, that was a really good gank by the Elise, really paying dividends of having those early mobility boots. Also invested in some early AP so that she has a little bit more impact. By going that over a jungle item means she could be a bit more impactful in the area that she's looking to have an impact in, which is in these lane gank scenarios.
Well, Magifelix going to get caught out as well. Frennick takes him down. Pretty easy kill for him there. Might be my mic might be slightly on the loud side as well when I get excited, so we'll turn that down. As I say, we are just doing the production from basically my bedroom here. Here comes Kex. Arfan there as well, looking for the engage. Deadly Flourish onto Kex, stuns him up. Obvious is locked out. Here comes the counter teleport by Bonds, and they will take down Kex, who came in just a little bit too early. Frennick and Genex are looking for the kill. Good keepers of edges away. Kaku should fall here, first to go down, but Genex almost goes down in response. Phone's doing a lot of work in the front line. And they will just trade 1 for 1 at the end. Look at those heart rates. 177, the snipe as well by Cedrian. Absolutely devastating stuff as he gets the Deadly Flourish down. Iguana looking for the turret though. If they can get this, perhaps they can call it even.
I'm not so sure that they needed to commit with that teleport from Kets at that point in time. They actually had just had Arfan force them away from the Drake, which I think probably was their main objective. I'm not so sure you need to do super hardcore follow-up and have Kets teleport in, especially because he would have to buy time for at least, I don't know, 5 to 10 seconds before anyone could respond to him having gone in with that flash. So, I mean, it's ended up quite well for them because they're now able to siege onto this tier 1 turret, and I suppose all's well that ends well, but they didn't actually get any global objectives out of it, and they have lost a lot of pressure onto this mid lane tier 1 too. So Arfan actually forcing him off the Drake probably would have been good enough in my opinion. But anyway, it's how it is. They didn't actually manage to get any global objectives from it, and still Euronics Gaming having that slight lead.
Euronics able to solidify themselves with a little bit of an early lead, as you say, only about 2,000 gold the difference. It was an even trade in that bottom lane, but first brick not gone down for either team yet means that there's still quite a lot of standing gold on the map. Let's have a look up towards the top lane. Kex just building up towards the Sunfire Cape as you'd expect him. Yeah, we're gonna make sure we get all the sound stuff sorted. I apologise. That it might be slightly off. I've reduced my microphone slightly, so hopefully that will stop me from being too loud during team fights. Although I do just get excited during these fights. It's great to see snipes like that coming out from Cedrian. He's 2-0 now. Now, let's talk a little bit about the new Jhin build, because it used to be that we saw a lot of armor penetration coming out from Jhin. With the introduction of lethality, that's kind of changed. We don't tend to see that full armor penetration build anymore.
Yeah, so the fact that Jhin doesn't go Ghostblade is because A, Ghostblade really only gives movement speed now, which is only beneficial for assassins that rely on the mobility. You don't get that attack speed from it at this point in time, which obviously Jhin benefits from attack speed, not in the same way a traditional AD carry would, but he benefits from attack speed nonetheless. And like you said, the armor penetration works in lethality these days, which isn't as impactful in the early game for AD carries. In fact, impactful for AD carries in most senses anyway. So going back to more the traditional build, some Jhins sometimes go down the Infinity Edge path, but I much prefer going down Essence Reaver, so this is sort of what you expect to see from Jhin. He's probably going to go towards a rapid fire cannon, and this is kind of like back to the classic Jhin build we originally saw before that Ghostblade build became popular.
Yeah, that Ghostblade build was just too powerful some of the time though, especially when you can build Duskblade as well. It's just very strong in the right situation. Kex and Phones are just farming up a storm here in the top lane, both of them with the courage, not really going to be able to get taken out at all. Looking across the resting heart rates, Arfan almost down to 110 now. That's settled a little bit more into this game. Yeah, hopefully the clipping will be sorted by next game. It's a difficulty finding a software that actually transmits sound very well when you're across the world. I have reduced my volume as well, so make sure you tell me if that's a little bit better for you guys. Junglers, Obvious has done a lot more work in the early game than Fennec. He's been able to get those couple of early kills. Fennec tried to come in for the ganks, has been able to farm up a little bit more, and actually looks like Iguana will be able to take a turret of their own here. Did lose first brick a little bit earlier on.
So what they've done is they've committed a lot of resources to this bot lane tier 1, and you can see this is the result.
Here comes the dive onto Kex. Exhaust down as well. Courage of the Colossus will heal him up. Kaku's just tanking it though with that unstoppable will. Kex trying to dodge around, does get the arcade smash back, and won't be able to survive. It's another kill for Euronics, and they'll get a tower out of it as well.
So Iguana made the decision to commit to that tier 1 bot lane. Now they're going to have to do something extra to make it worth it, because to be honest, you probably expected this coming out from ESG. You know, they were pushing that top lane tier 1 up very heavily by themselves. They were definitely going to be a dive on the cards for Kex, and he probably knew that was coming regardless. Now it looks like IG or Iguana are looking to siege onto this tier 1 mid lane, but against the Syndra, it can be difficult. She does have elements of wave clear in her kit, which especially at this point in the game when she's picked up some early penetration and a little bit of AP behind her, will make it difficult without picking Syndra off to siege onto this tier 1 in the mid. So again, probably still worth it for Euronics at this point in time. The gold lead is only 2k though, so it's not like they're snowballing out of control.
I think Iguanas will be happy enough with the position they're in. Of course, they would have liked to have not, lost first brick, not lost as many kills as they have, but being within 2,000 gold at this point, it's 10%. It's not a huge difference between the two teams, so Iguanas won't be too dismayed looking at that scoreboard, looking at the gold. We can actually see across the board, it's relatively even between all of the team members. You know, it's only 100 gold here, 200 gold there. If Euronics are able to use that gold and get a legendary item before Iguanas and then fight when they have the legendary item that Iguana don't, yes, they get the advantage, but it's such a small window for them to have to play into.
Also, we have to note that as this game progresses, both teams function fairly well in the late game, you know, with their individual team compositions working in different ways. But I've always favoured pick compositions if we get towards the very late game, because if you can pick off one member, 4 versus 5 means so much more in the later stages that you can kind of turn things around. And neither of these teams have particularly poor scaling carries. Looks like Obvious is going to be forced to repel.
He is. There's the Enchanted Crystal Ammo as well. Alistair tanks that one up. Kaku will be very happy to do that for his jungler, with Elise having burnt the repel, meant that she didn't have any more escapes to get out of the fight if that was going to continue going down. Sort of settled into a little bit of a routine here between the two teams. Euronics have that tower advantage, but because Kex is so big, because Phones is so big as well, they're not really able to engage. Good flash away by HQ. PQ. They were able to escape from the curtain call. Fennec looking for perhaps a little bit more out of it, but not going to be able to connect onto any of those Euronics members, which means that Iguanas will be happy to get away. They do burn the flash on the Ashe, and Cedrian and Euronics will be looking for an engage sometime in the next 5 minutes on towards that Ashe.
So what you will be seeing here from ESG, they actually function in a compositionally similar to that of Ashe. You know, they have the Jhin, looks to make a pick, but he does rely on his teammates to follow up on his ultimate, whereas with the Ashe composition, she has everything on her head. I mean, there is the kind of follow-up from the Maokai, but it's not as hard to make work. With the Jhin, you are looking to make a pick in the same sense. You know, you're looking to land those bullets onto a key target where Alistair or Elise could follow up. So you've got two compositions that work fairly similarly, but I would say with the fact that Ashe can remain mobile after having used her ultimate, this gives a little bit more versatility to Iguana Esports looking to make picks, but then you do have the ability to probably burst more heavily with the fact that you've got Elise and Syndra coming out from Euronics Gaming. So there's swings and roundabouts with both of these compositions. You're favouring a lot of high mobility and adaptability coming out from Iguana, but you've got that straight up heavy CC burst pick coming out from Euronics. And obviously I would say if it came to a siege like this, you probably would favour the fact that the Euronics have got the Syndra and the Alistair. They facilitate tower dives very well. Here comes the Ashe arrow. Yeah,
flash away by Cedrian. Kex is teleporting in as well. Phones will be the one to catch caught out, not back. Here comes Phones onto Kex. Kaku there as well as the frontline tank, but that unstoppable will is going to break off in just a second. And Euronics lose a man, lose a cow indeed, as Iguana able to hold off that turret push.
So one of the problems with siege compositions that aren't threatening dives or don't have that position to be so far ahead that, you know, you can't actually stop to respond is that Iguana can just turn that trigger, fire the Ashe arrow, follow up with the Maokai and the root from the Karma, and then, you know, you're suddenly punishing the attempted siege from Euronics. And you saw it right there. They attempted a siege onto that tier 1 mid lane, and it was immediately punished by Iguana, because this is what the Ashe arrow and Maokai can do. If you're not going to threaten a dive, if you're not going to pick someone off, you're not going to use that Jhin ultimate, for instance, to force people back, then all you're going to receive in return is this Ashe arrow coming at you. Wow.
Yeah, this is incredibly brave. We're going to see some heart rate spike as they start up this Baron. Iguana have no idea this is happening. There's no teleport for them either, and Phones can tank this one up for days. Euronics might just have this redemption used for the heal. This is going to be a free Baron for Euronics. Great shot calling by them to realise the opportunity was there.
And you know what? It was great, I would say, drama play by Magifelix in the mid lane. He was basically keeping Jenax on that side of the mid lane and saying, no way you're getting over there anywhere near. I'm not even going to look like I'm feigning towards that Baron. I'm just trying to keep you in lane as busy as possible. And like you said, great decision and shot calling from Obvious and Cedric to say, actually, we can probably do this early on. I mean, we've got the Ryalize on the Elise. We've got Cedric, who's now picked up his rapid fire cannon as well, and as Poppy joins us, she'll be able to tank this up for days. That was incredible shot maker calling, but again, it could have been very easily punished. They really had to rely on the fact that you weren't going to have an early Baron ward coming down for Iguana, just using that excellent vision control that they've managed to keep around that area.
Now Iguana will have to work out how they're going to deal with the push coming in, because you've got an ability to split push with the Poppy. You've got Magifelix who can probably 1v1 anyone as well. It makes it very difficult, really, for Iguana to actually be able to push back these Baron up minions.
Yeah, I'm just going to say sorry if you guys don't, or you guys are seeing a very bright screen. Unfortunately, we don't have much control over the brightness, because we are just doing a clean feed, which is just basically a feed given to us by ESL that is just the direct feed that they have for their.
I can try and have a play between games to see what I can do, but I don't think there'll be a huge amount I'll be able to change, I'm afraid. It's also why we have a bit of echoing in the background, because the feed is just taking audio straight from the venue, which means we catch a very slight amount of the German commentators' points when they get overly excited as well. Oh, Genex caught out. Look at the damage coming down, but the Maul will keep him alive for now. Iguana looking for this defense of the top lane turret as well. They do lose mid lane. And now they will just back away. I actually think he's used heal in Hex Trinket. It doesn't have the Maul yet.
Still, the Hex Drinkers are super sensible buy, and you'd expect that from Corki at this point in time against the Syndra. Like you said, it probably single-handedly kept him alive with the magic resist and the shield. But what it has allowed is that he couldn't actually stay around after that. He had to back off. And so that meant that he could siege onto this tier 1 in the mid lane. And also, without the fact that they haven't got Corki to follow up on the Ashe arrow, they really only have Ashe in this situation, they were able to siege that tier 2 top lane as well. The problem is, and I think this is what ESG have realized, is by splitting their focus, you kind of break apart this composition from Iguana. Iguana need everybody on the same page to respond to an Ashe arrow. You don't need that same level of committal from ESG to make their sieges work. Syndra can siege by herself because she can pick off that person trying to defend. And then you have 3 members who probably feel pretty safe, because if Ashe is the only one stepping up to follow on her arrow, then obviously Alistair and Elise can respond and just try and either knock her away, tank things up, or even try their best to kill her off the back of a Jhin ultimate when the arrow has happened. So I think Euronics have realized 5 people sieges at this point in time are just not going to work. They need to split everything in every lane, go 1-3-1 in certain instances, and this is kind of what they're alluding to now.
With the Baron buff, it makes it a lot easier for them to do it. I just want to say, Scoundrel Arthan is sitting at the 101 to 100 heart rate mark, so he's very close to dropping underneath that 100 mark, which means he's pretty confident in the way he's playing at the moment. Perhaps even confident in the way Iguana is playing. You know, they have fallen behind, they've lost a couple of turrets, but still have the ability to push back in this game, and they scale pretty well into the late game. Ashe does a huge amount of work.
Arthan is at 100 now. His resting heart rate beforehand was 120, so you can imagine he was actually probably nervous before he even got on. Like you said, we were talking about white coat syndrome, which a lot of you might know is when you get a little bit nervous just seeing the doctor. That is kind of what you might see some of these guys. When you have your heart rate taken, it actually can be a little bit of a sort of heart-provoking experience. I know that I get it a little bit. Oh, actually, I think Cedrian was pretty close as well. I mean, this is why I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for somebody to fall below 100. Arthan has come the closest so far.
It doesn't actually mean that much, but it's a nice little mini-game to introduce, and we know Riot loves their mini-games, so we'll be just spotting that out as we go along. Let's have a look across the builds here. Redemption on the Alistair. You've got double Rylai's on Magic Felix and Obvious. Just tanky stats on phones up in towards that top lane. And I just want to focus really on Genex. He's got Trinity Force Hexdrinker and now has picked up a Hextech Revolver. Does that go towards a Gunblade?
I would imagine that goes towards a Gunblade, especially on Corki. I wouldn't expect him to go in towards the Proto Belt, for instance. So that I like that. That's interesting. You know, Corki we know benefits from both AP and AD, and actually as an item, Gunblade has become far more useful than it previously was. Looks like we have the engage with the Ashe arrow.
Yeah, Phoenix trying to get in there as well, but just has to burrow away. Phones jumps in underneath the turret. His Kex as well. Phones down to half HP. Phoenix just going to back. And here comes the redemption. Kex now needs to get away from 5 members of Euronics who look for the re-engage. Genax caught out, exhausted. Kex jumps back into the fight. Here's Fennec as well. Courage of the Colossus doing absolute work. Hiku will take out the first kill. And Obvious should fall as well. Cuckoo dies off towards the side. A great fight for Iguana as they lock out 3 members of Euronics Gaming.
Again, this is what will happen for Iguana. You go to a 5v5 situation. Sometimes it doesn't even matter if the Ashe arrow misses because you have the follow-up of the Rek'Sai and the Maokai, which are all sped up quite nicely by that Inspire from Karma. So, I mean, if you're not touching the Ashe, she's just going to run wild from that backline. As a sustained damage AD carry, she trumps Cedrian in every way. And the way that this engaged happened, it forced Magic Felix back. He wasn't able to get a successful ultimate off because, again, went on to Genax, who essentially has all of that kit designed to deal with Syndra's burst potential. Even with that Void Staff there, he wasn't able to pick off the kill. I think it's because also Exhaust came down from Arthan, but I mean, that was fantastic coming out from Iguana. And I think if ESG are going to make these 5v5 plays happen, they need to start thinking about putting pressure onto Hikyu, because he's been the guy from that backline who has been untouched with the sustained damage. That's really been the major issue.
You know what I'd like to see with these heart rate monitors? Instead of having a resting heart rate, having a heart rate peak. Because I'm sure during that fight, their heart rates went a lot higher than they are at the moment, and they're sort of coming back down now. But I didn't see any of the peaks because I was concentrating on the action. So I'd like to see, you know, where Fennec got up to in that fight. Because I wouldn't be surprised if he was pushing 190 to 200 beats per minute, which really, like, people talk about, you know, heart rate can increase your reaction speed a little bit, but when your heart's going that quickly, you are actually shaking slightly as well. So they're going to be like trying to reposition their mouse, trying to work out exactly where they want to hit skill shots. And it can make you miss things because you're shaking due to your adrenaline-fueled heart rate.
Yeah, so we have Baron coming off as well. I mean, Baron, that'll be a very tense point as well for all these guys. They know that basically Euronics managed to sneak one very early on, and you could see, I don't think Iguana are going to let that slip once more. They're going to start to get vision control of this Baron area. Let's have a look at the Dragons, by the way. I haven't really paid too much attention, which is awful, to who's picked up who, but I believe it's 2 Dragons to Iguana and 1 Dragon over to Euronics.
Euronics have a Mountain, Iguana have an Infernal, and something else that I missed because I was trying to sort something out with the overlay. So they've definitely got an Infernal and something. It's not an Ocean, because otherwise they'd be healing a little bit quicker.
I believe it was 2 Mountains.
So they've got a Mountain and an Infernal then?
I think so.
Okay.
Obviously, Mountain incredibly important to both compositions, especially that for Euronics. They have been trying to make this siege work for them, so adding the Mountain Drake to the mix means that they're able to siege onto these towers more effectively. Fantastic for their composition, but I don't want them to go down this sort of 5-man siege again. You know, as soon as the Ash arrow comes down and you get put into a hard engaged situation, you lose massive utility for Jhin, because you can't sit down and use your ultimate when an Ash arrow is coming at you and the engage from a Maokai and a Rek'Sai is coming straight at you either. You need to be in a position where you're the ones dictating the pace of the engage, and actually with Ashe in the top lane and the Jhin ultimate coming out, this is a good time.
Oh, Fennec does a great job of blocking up that final one. The Deadly Flourish comes out. There's the courage with the knockup. Fennec will fall. He keeps Genax alive though, and that is a lot of their anti-siege still available here for Iguana. Here comes the Enchanted Kusalawa onto Cuckoo. Not really the target they want. He will pop that Unbreakable Will. They're going to keep going for him though, looking to take him down. Kex is the front line. Here's Genax on towards the side. Magic Felix knocked back, almost dead, but just about survives until Kekis takes him down. Bones does have the GA. It's a double for Kex. Hikyu doing a huge amount of work with that Ashe, with the Runans as well, and the Infinity Edge. Kex comes in to take out the kill. Bones caught up. There's so much CC here from Iguana. No escape for the Poppy at all. Iguana turned the fight on its head. In a 4v5, they take out 4 members and keep 3 of their own alive.
Look, as Euronics, you cannot enter a 5v5 with Iguana. At this point in time, you will lose 100% every single time. Karma shields with Windspeaker. You've got the shields coming out from the Hex Drinker as well, and the Maokai damage reduction from his ultimate. You are going to lose 9 times out of 10 here, Sona. You don't want to enter these kind of fights. You need to be going through 1-3-1. You have stronger duelists in the smaller skirmishes, and to be honest, it looks like we're just going to see the Jhin.
Whoa, that was close.
Very close.
That was about 30 HP or so, looking at it.
Very close. But you can't make these happen. I think actually you've got to the point where you can't even open up that Jhin ultimate and look to siege that way. I think your only win condition now for Euronics is by making a pick somehow with the Elise and the Jhin, and also maybe Syndra being involved, or just going for a straight up 1-3-1, trying to make and take advantage of the fact that Syndra has got good 1v1 potential. And somehow winning off the back of that, because you enter a 5v5, you probably lose every single time at this point, unless you can take out the Ashe. So taking out the Ashe is your only directive when coming to a team fight, but you still have to deal with that Corki who's got the Hextech Gunblade now, who's probably putting out a serious amount of damage himself. And with Ashe having picked up the QSS, it's going to become even harder. And on top of that, you've got the Redemption, the Karma Shields from the Windspeaker, the damage reduction from the Maokai, the double exhaust that their composition is running. I mean, you probably don't kill Ashe in 9 ways to Sunday, so yeah, I think that's my theory behind what Euronics should be doing, but I don't think they can now. I think they've lost too much pressure, and with Baron, you know, they're going to have to try and defend as a 5.
Yeah, I think you defend the Baron buff and then maybe look for the fights later on. Courage of the Colossus is allowing these multi-crowd control compositions really to come back into meta. You saw how much Kex regained there in terms of health. It was about 40% of his max health just in shields as he went in time and time again. We are going to see Iguana split with Frennick, going up towards that top side, has the Void Rush. Kex not having teleport means that they need to put Frennick into it towards a different lane. With the Tiamat, that Rek'Sai should be able to push that lane up pretty quickly, and we will have to see reactions from Euronics. They've gone towards mid to stop the Ashe and the Karma. The top lane tower is pretty open for Iguana here.
The Corki and Maokai in the bot lane, they feel like they've got high enough mobility that they can respond to a situation should it go awry. What I'd like to see from sort of Euronics here is maybe saying, well, okay, 3 members right there, without Maokai, who doesn't have teleport as far as we're aware. We just force an engage. I think they might have missed an opportunity in that mid lane to just, as Jim was roaming up, open up that curtain call. No teleport on Maokai. Corki doesn't have the package, so he won't be able to respond as quickly as you think he might be able to. They might have been able to get some kills there and stop the siege coming out from Hyaku, Arfan, and Frennick, but I think they missed their opportunity now. You're going to see another grouping up coming out from Iguana.
Yep, looking towards that Mountain Drake as well. Next Drake to spawn will be the Elder. Iguana get themselves the Mountain to go alongside that Infernal, and we believe another Mountain. I know it's not an ocean, it doesn't look like a cloud with the speed they're moving, so assuming it is a Mountain Drake. This is exactly how this game progresses. I just want to say Arfan's resting heart rate has actually gone down, which makes me believe the 120 he had earlier wasn't actually his resting heart rate, because now it was down to 90 when it was 120 previously.
They've swapped it over to
so maybe it was Kaku who had 120.
Yeah. They just swapped it over.
Yeah. So
Cedric is now magic to resting heart rate to 80 as well.
Yeah. Well, it's just magic, you know. Phone's here pushing forward. We're going to have to see how Euronics decide to defend this, because it is a very difficult hold for them. Iguana have the ability just to push in multiple lanes, as you say. Kex still no teleport, but Frennick will be able to join the fray very quickly. In fact, quicker than a teleport with the Void Rush, assuming he has tunnels nearby.
So the way you respond to this as Euronics is that, I mean, you're not going to, I mean, you can clear waves, right, but you can only clear waves for so long, and the threat of a tower dive with a Maokai is pretty strong. You probably just do this. You probably just say, we open up ultimate now. Like, we try and fight as best we can, but you're going to see a response immediately from Gen X. He's got the package. I think you have to wait that one out. But for the most part, your best response is somehow getting a flash engage onto the Ashe and just opening all of your damage onto her and saying, well, we can take the Ashe out. That's fantastic.
Curtain Call comes out, Crystal Arrow onto Cedrian. They decide they don't want to go all in. That would have been diving underneath the turret there for Iguana. They're happy just to allow the Corki to continue to push up. Iguana looking for these turrets, but Euronics doing a strong job of defending. They are not giving this up without a fight. At the moment, they really haven't taken too much damage on that inhibitor tower.
Something's stressing Arfan out right now. You can see he's gone up another 50 heart rate.
Well, it's all on him, really, to defend that Ashe.
Yeah. But then, you know, it's clicking R and clicking E.
It's tough, man. It's a tough job.
Also, he's got the Locket and Solari. So, I mean, you've got shields for days coming out from these guys. It's going to be very difficult. I mean, that was the engage.
Flashes. Kaku did go for the engage. Bones there as well. It's a 3v5 at the moment. Bones is low. Here comes Kex on towards the backline, but that tree is down. We're going to see Obvious get out of the fight. Magic Felix takes out Genax, and now Frennick's caught in a bad spot as he's going to have to try and burrow his way away, but there's just no tunnels for him, and he's locked up for days. Can he get away from this fight, even with Arfan there? There's the Inspire, looking to get Iguanas out, but they cannot escape. It's the engage you were talking about. Euronics pull the trigger, and they get themselves 3 kills.
Yeah, I mean, basically when the Ashe was then separated from her team, Kex felt like he had to come back in to provide that engage, and maybe they could turn things around, but he was immediately focused, and no one was there together. This is what Euronics have to do as a team. Their best opportunity is to split up Iguana as best as possible, and the way you do that is by trying to force Ashe away early, and Kaku did a great job of that, forced the flash out from Ashe. The pace was not dictated by the Ashe arrow, and they're going to respond by trying to take this inhibitor town. They will get the inhibitor, but no more from the back of it.
Yeah, don't really want to push too far, especially against the lock-up composition that you've got when you're playing into a Maokai and a Rek'Sai. So they will back away. Baron on the cards in a minute. It's about 2 and a bit minutes before the Dragon will spawn as well, if my timer is correct in my head. Might be a little bit more than that. I'm trying to remember if they took it at 34 or 32. I want to say 32, so I think it is just over 2 minutes, but it could be 4 minutes. Either one of those. Elder Drake is actually a lot more impactful for Iguana than it is for Euronics, although both have them at least one mountain, so they'll be pretty happy getting that either way.
I think the Infernal will come into play as well, because you boost that damage of Corki by a massive amount, because obviously he's relying on both AD and AP. And realistically, you only have 2 major damage sources coming out from Iguana. Even though you have got the Tiamat on Rek'Sai, it's really not going to be hugely impactful at this stage in the game. So by having the damage boost to your 2 major damage sources, that's fantastic. So obviously we could say that as well about Euronics, but they've actually got Elise, who's gone down a fairly damage-heavy path. You know, she's really gone for that ability to follow up on a Cocoon with that Void Staff and the Ryle Eyes, and that means that Ashe is, you know, threatened by Elise at the very least. Looks like they're going to try and engage onto Euronics here.
They are going to get a lot of damage onto Arthman. Cuckoo is that front line. Teleport coming in as well. Fennec's gone very deep. They will take down Cuckoo. Iguana trying to pick up kills where they can. Kex in from behind. Going to look for Magic Felix. Has got that Maelstrom down and will take out Magic Felix. Euronics lost 3 members already. Now it's 4. And Bones trying to face up into HQ. Just cannot do it. Iguana take all of the kills they need. They get the ace. Actually, no obvious escape, so they only get 4 kills. But Iguana now looking to get the inhibitor of their own.
Yeah, they have to push down the lane that has super minions pushing towards them, though, because of the structure and the lane positions of the rest of the minions. They can't go bot or top. It would be wasted time. They will basically not make much value out of the fact that they've got 30-second death timers on the rest of Euronics at this point. So they have to push down this lane with the super minions. How much can they get off the back of this?
They're going for the win. They're going
for the win. They've got, what? They've got 30, 20 seconds left. They could do this.
Yeah, Cuckoo is up in 4, though. Iguanas take the first turret quickly. The second will be their target. It's just the nexus between them and Victory, and HQ is still doing a huge amount of work. Fennec on the nexus. So is the Corki, and that will be Iguana taking the win over Euronics Gaming. They will go 1-0 up in this series.
Yeah, that was a really, really good turnaround from them. I didn't know whether they'd have enough time with the double AD carry. It was basically secured for them. They had the big tanks in the form of the Rek'Sai and the Maokai. It means they could split focus with his turrets if they absolutely needed to. And then with the Corki and the Ashe super strong at taking turrets as well, able to push down the middle, even with the super minions, able to finish up the game. And it was a very solid paced game there for Iguana, really utilizing the Ashe arrow, exploiting this Jhin CG type composition. Whenever that five-man siege came out from Euronics, they were like, nope, hold your horses, and we're going to make that engage happen, go straight on with the Ashe. It's worked out very well for them.
You can see Euronics discussing perhaps the mistakes they made throughout that game. They were able to get back into it slightly, but not quite able to complete the win at the end. Now, what we're going to do, just because we've had a couple of issues, and I'm going to see if I can get the haze removed from this clean feed, is we might go offline. I'll try not to go offline. We'll leave it on the clean feed for now, but I'm going to mute both of us and move over to Discord or something to make sure we get rid of all that crackling as well. So we'll be back in just a couple of seconds, guys. Make sure you stay tuned as we get into the second game of this series in just a minute's time.